Welcome back to The Blueprint. Today we have two very special guests with us. We have Chris and Christine from SBDC, which is the Small Business Development Center. How are you, ladies?
Doing great. Thank you.
Did I say it right? Small Business Development Center?
Yes.
Yes?
Correct. Yep.
Can we start with you guys introducing and telling us a little bit about yourself? So where you're from and how did you start with SBDC?
We could do that. So I'm Christine Fisher. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center, SBDC, and I'm from Hector originally. And I came to SMSU way back when for my undergraduate degree, which I obtained here in elementary education. And you're thinking, elementary education, what are you doing helping small businesses? I actually never taught officially in a school district, but I worked for a local food company for about 24 years. And then my position was actually eliminated then. And I actually came to the Small Business Development Center as the associate director under Liz Struve, who had been the director for 20 plus years at the time. She has since retired. And then last year, so as of January 1st, 2024, I've been here as the director for a year.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I'm Chris. I am originally from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I started my college career at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities and then got engaged to a Marshall boy, so I ended up moving here.
There you go.
I was a math major with a computer science minor, and then I was a computer programmer or software engineer for a little over a decade, and then took a break and then started again in tech as a business analyst, and then moved to this position about a year ago. So I'm the associate director, and yeah, I love it.
That's awesome to hear that you guys have very different backgrounds and still you make it work for like the small businesses and all of that. So Chris, you kind of like Christine, you said a little bit about like how you got into it and that you never actually like thought in like the education side of it, but worked with it with a company for like many years. How did you like from the software engineer came to like the SBDC?
So when I wrote software I worked at Schwann's as well, for the different departments, I actually got to learn how they ran because I'd have to learn everything they did in order to write a program for them. So I worked with tax accounting and the different accounting areas, so I learned the business part of that. And then as an analyst, I actually represented the business side, and then I would have to figure out what they needed and tell software developers how to write the programs.
Right.
And so I learned the business side in doing that. And so that's what attracted me to this position.
That's awesome. How'd you like Marshall since you came?
I've actually been in Marshall longer than I was in Wisconsin now. So
really?
I love it. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a nice community.
I've heard Wisconsin has really good cheese.
Yeah.
Does it really? Yeah.
I mean, you can find cheese anywhere.
Right. What about you? How was that transition to Marshall? You came for college and then...
I came from college a little bit, kind of like Chris's story, ended up meeting my husband and ended up staying local. So something that I thought was going to be a 4-year stint, I ended up being, we're at, close to 35 years that I've been here now. So quite a while.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, super random, but like since you like both came to like school at SMSU and like had your like roots in here a little bit before SBDC, as students we walk by your offices all the time.
Yep.
Do you have a lot of students that use SBDC resources?
So we do have a lot of students that are coming and utilizing the SBDC through the center, through Dr. George Taylor's classes. We also work with the public. So we cover 18 counties in Southwest Minnesota. So just because we're housed here at SMSU, we help students, but we also help the general public. So I brought a couple numbers just so you know. I don't have specific for the students, but we had 436 clients that we helped last year. So that kind of gives you an idea a little bit on the size. We helped 30 businesses start in Southwest Minnesota. So like I said, that's 18 counties that we assist. We help them attain $13.1 million in capital, and we helped clients 3,518 hours. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what size, who we help. But we are housed in the Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, by the way, is the hardest word for me to spell. Spell check every single time. I spell it wrong. I don't know why. Why do I work with entrepreneurs when it's the hardest word for me? But so we do work with a lot of the students as well as they're looking at starting their businesses or doing a side job business or something from that standpoint. So I don't know if you have more to add to that.
Well, one of the things is everything when we are working with our clients is 100% confidential. So it's a little hard to share how much we're working with them.
Right.
But with Dr. Taylor's class, we get to go into the classroom and share what we do so that they're familiar with what we do and have seen our faces. So I think it makes it easier and we're more approachable. Otherwise, they're just like, I don't know, there's ladies in the office over there.
And that's all they know.
Right.
Can you share then a little bit with us of the resources and what needs you can help them with, especially if they're starting their business, or like which stages of companies you work with, and how does that all kind of englobes your guys'?
So we will help anybody that's looking at starting a business. So maybe they have an idea and they're in the very initial stages looking at starting. Maybe they're purchasing an existing business. We will help businesses that are already in place. Maybe they're looking for help with marketing, social media, something along the lines, search engine optimization, to expansion, as well as businesses that are looking at getting out of business. Maybe they are looking at retiring or something from that standpoint, selling to employee or something from that perspective. So we will help basically small businesses from start to finish. All of the services that we provide are at no cost. So nobody pays for any of the services. We are an SBA, the Small Business Administration. We are a resource partner of theirs. So they provide our federal funding. And so people sign up with us, and then they are assigned a consultant that they work with one-on-one to help with their business, get it ready ready to take to the bank if they're looking for financing, something from that standpoint. So we will kind of help all stages of business. Have anything you want to add to that piece?
Well, for the beginner stage, a lot of people need a business plan and a cash flow projection. So that tends to be what we focus on to start, seeing those numbers to start so that they understand if they can make money at their business. Right. Really helps them get adjusted to what the expectations are. And then we can also help if they need certain licensing so that they're aware of what the laws are. Another big thing is getting them set up with their business structure. We can assist with what type of structure they might want and then how to go about that process.
That's awesome.
Yeah, getting registered, with the state of Minnesota, Secretary of State, if they need a sales tax ID, if they need to be collecting sales tax, what type of, how much sales tax, where the sale takes place. So if it takes place in Marshall, making sure that they're collecting the Marshall sales tax as well as the Minnesota state tax. So we'll help with all of that. Essentially, what we say is if anybody comes in, we will help them as long as they meet the guideline of being a small business, which majority of the businesses around the area are, and they are providing a federally legal business. Hence, cannabis is not it's legal in Minnesota. It is not legal federally.
Oh, I
so if somebody is looking at doing a cannabis dispensary or something, we're not able to help with that because our funding is federal. But otherwise, if it's federally legal, we will help.
Awesome. Can you share a little bit of the guidelines for small business? So maybe someone who's listening to us right now might be wondering if they match or not those criterias. And
so, I mean, we help, restaurants, service industries, carpenter, plumber, electrician, any of those. Anybody, I mean, essentially any small business, salons, just a couple auto mechanics. Like Chris stated, all of the clients that we work with is confidential. So when everybody signs up, it's confidential. But we do get permission from some of them after they start on businesses that we've helped. So a couple examples that are on our website, stories that we've shared. Locally, we helped with the 5-family ranch with the event center. We helped with the purchase of Awards Plus. Where it went from one owner over to another. We've got a couple automotive, a handyman service that we just posted, a bakery and stuff. So just kind of a wide variety of, if anybody's looking at getting started, we're able to help them with it.
So, and then within the SBA guidelines, small business is actually a lot bigger than you would expect. So it can be up to 1,500. It's industry specific. There's a whole big document that has all the information, but on average it's 500. And then can you speak to the numbers? It's in the millions?
Yeah. I mean, they can have gross sales of, I want to say it's like $5 million, but again, it's industry specific. So for the most part, anybody, within the 18 county region, except for, the really large companies, we can assist.
And when you said the 1,500, would that be the number of employees?
Right.
Yes. So that, in my mind, when I think about 1,500 employees, that seems like a really big company. But like you said, it's way bigger than we actually think it is, right?
Right. So almost anyone falls under the small business when they call in and we look at it.
Yeah.
So in the vast majority of small businesses are actually, they call them solopreneurs. They're a one business or, one person business. So they own the business, they work in it, they do everything. And a lot of them, they might have a 9-to-5 job or a day job, and then they're doing this on the weekends or evenings and stuff like that to help supplement their income. And so we will help them get started as well. It does not have to be a big job, something where they have employees and stuff like that. It can be somebody where they're just starting their own business.
Yeah. And is it just the two of you at the office, or do you have more people on the team to help?
So we are the only 2 employees of the center, but we contract with business consultants that work remote. So they work within the field, most of them based out of their homes. And so then they'll work with a lot of the clients one-on-one from that standpoint. But when
you kept listing all the benefits and everything you help with, I'm like, oh my gosh, how do only the 2 of you take care of all of this? Because it seems like so many details and different things, and I'm sure you have so many businesses you work with, and they all probably have very distinct needs that you have to address. So that's very nice to see that you have a bigger team helping you.
Yep. And we always say we might not have all the answers, but we have a lot of connections as well. So that's the piece that if we don't know, we'll find someone or direct you to someone that can help you.
That's awesome. One thing super funny, very random. I was watching the other day, I can't remember the name of the show, but it's like a person, this guy, he owned this multi-millionaire company, and he accepted this challenge. So they handed him $100 bill, and he had 30 days to turn into $1 million business. And literally the first place he went to was an SBDC. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I know what SBDC is and everything they do. Because I feel still there's a lot of people, I mean, being involved with the center and all of that, we get our feet wet with you guys, and the offices are right next to each other and we see each other all the time. But otherwise, I feel like I maybe wouldn't know what the SBDC is and things like that. So is there something, is there a big thing that maybe people come to you guys with a misconception or something of what you do?
So just the fact that we exist, a lot of times it's stated that the SBDC is the biggest kept secret. We're trying to change that and trying to get the word out. Last week I was at the Capitol just visiting with legislators, making sure that they know that we exist and kind of what we're doing for all of the small businesses in, definitely in Southwest Minnesota, but there's 9 different regions in the state of Minnesota. So every county in the state of Minnesota is covered by an SBDC, and every state in the union is covered by an SBDC. So if somebody's looking for assistance, it's there. It's there to help, and all SBDCs are at no cost. That's so awesome. We're here to help. The biggest thing is we want small businesses to grow and succeed, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
One of the biggest misconceptions is people think that since we are a resource partner of the SBA, that we have funding to give or grants to give out. And we don't have funding to give. We help with the technical side of things, with, helping them get their paperwork in order and helping with the process.
Yeah.
But we get them ready to go to places to ask for funding.
That's a great start already, right?
Right.
Is there any, if you could give one advice for a small businesses or someone that wants to start right now, what would it be?
I would say the first thing is to make sure you plan and prepare so that you don't just jump into it. Sometimes we say some of our greater successes are individuals that did not start their business. When we put the numbers on paper, took a look at it, and decided this is not the right fit to do. So we want to make sure that the businesses that we help sustain long term. And so that's kind of so follow your passion, have the desire for it, but do the planning up front and make sure you're making the right decisions.
I knew you were going to say follow your passion. So just make sure you have a passion for what you do. And absolutely, that would be my number one too, because, you're going to be doing it in, all day, every day, if it's going to be your full-time job. And even as a side gig, there's days when it might not, you might want to relax and you're not going to get to relax. You need to put the time in. So,
right. Is there how do you manage when someone comes with an idea that they're really passionate about, and then when you put the numbers together, you see that might not be a great fit? How do you handle those conversations?
Man, yes, the tough question.
Sorry.
This is the tough. That's the tough part of the job. Because we're here to help people fulfill their dreams and make their dreams come true. So you don't want to step on somebody's dream. Right. So, and that's why we let the numbers talk, and we show them from that standpoint on why it's difficult, why we want to make sure it's successful. And if somebody's not so sure on it, we give what we say a lot of homework. It's go do it. If you're not going to spend the time to do the homework for your business up front, how are you going to do on working in your business?
Right.
And so that's where a lot of times we start. Ones that don't seem quite as committed, they maybe get a little bit more homework than others. And it's, if you do it and you come back, it just shows that you're all the more dedicated and you're willing to do it. So that, but a lot of times it's putting the numbers, letting the numbers speak to it.
Right. And then, having the conversation of, maybe brainstorming some other ways to come at things so that they can come up with some other ideas to fill in or to maybe pivot a little. We've had, and I have only been here a short amount of time, but I've already seen people that came in and had an idea that, on paper, once you put the numbers together, maybe wasn't so great, but then came in later with a different idea because they were inspired to, from the first idea. So it can always turn out into something else.
Right. And that kind of leads to a different question. Don't want to put you guys on the spot, but was there one business that something like that happened where it wasn't really, the numbers didn't really talk so great, and then it turned out to something that you were surprised by the result?
So there's one, I heard about it a lot. So it's before I even started with the SBDC, but there was a gal that wanted to start a fitness center, and she didn't have any money to put in, and the banks were not going to give her money to do this. But she believed in it so much that she went out and she got people to sign up and pay a deposit on a fitness center that was still a concept. I mean, and it was just a smaller town, and so she took that and to the bank and showed that she now had this much commitment from people that wanted memberships to this gym, that she was able to get a building and get it started from that, just because of it was no, and she found a way around it. And so it's just the dedication and the persistence that somebody has. So if you have that passion and you run into roadblocks, you can find ways around it. You just got to work at it. So that's awesome. Probably the biggest one that comes to mind to me. So
do you have one that comes to mind?
This wasn't one that we worked with, but we toured it in Mankato. It was a business that they wanted to expand, and they went to 10 banks to try to get a loan, and all 10 banks said no. So they backed up and they met with SBDC and came at it from a different angle, and then were able to find their financing and expand. And just the persistence of it, to be told no 10 times but still keep trying, I thought was amazing.
Right.
And they have a gorgeous building, brand new, that they, build generators and are doing phenomenal.
That's awesome. So I guess our phrase of the day is don't give up, come see Chris and Christine. That's awesome. It's so nice to see too, like, if you're passionate for what you're doing and the business you're in, you're going to find ways and you're going to make it happen, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and there's times where people, their past, their credit scores maybe aren't where they need it to be. And so sometimes they have to step back, work on the personal finances a little bit before they can move into the business. And that's one thing that whenever I'm talking with students, whether it be high school students with the CEO program or going into any of the college classes or what, is be cognizant of what your credit score is and what you need to do to make sure that you're keeping it, either work on getting it so you have a good credit score, or start doing the right things. So when you are ready to start your business, the credit score is not the piece that's going to hold you up.
Right. Yeah, and especially I feel like at a young age, you don't really think too much about your credit score. And I can say for myself, like as an international student, I mean, I came here, I was 16, so I was for sure not thinking about a credit score. I didn't even know what it was. And then one day, randomly, someone told me about it. I'm like, I guess I suppose I should get a credit card so I can start building my own. And that's when I called my parents and I was like, what is this thing like credit score? So, like it's like things like that maybe if I wanted to start my business, I would have to wait for like 6 months, a year or something like that to get that build up and actually have the numbers to be able to start something. Yeah.
So just something for everybody to be thinking about early on and make it. It affects your life in many ways. So that's something besides just starting the business. But.
Right. Is there any advice you would give to the young entrepreneurs, like the CEO entrepreneurs that are starting businesses at age of 14, 15? And it's amazing to see everything they do. Sometimes I get to meet them at random events or things around the school. And I'm like, wait a second, like, can you tell me more? And so many of them, we see how successful they are. And they graduate high school, they have their set business running on like Marshall and like big things happening. And it's just so nice to see. So do you have anything you can tell them as a young entrepreneur to think ahead?
And so I think a lot of it is start small and then work on thinking about growing it and expanding. One piece, you're getting a little sneak peek here because I'm not really supposed to share it, but I'm going to anyway. So is this year for the SBA awards, the release will be coming in a couple weeks. But we had a young entrepreneur that we nominated as the SBA Young Entrepreneur of the Year, and he was actually a graduate from SMSU, and so he's got a business at the age of 24, 25. He has 5 employees working for him already, many which are, older than he is. And the business just keeps expanding from that standpoint. So if you start small and just work on it and keep expanding, there's a ton of opportunity and stuff for you. So it's just being dedicated to it and working hard.
Right. The biggest thing for him is he saw a need and he filled that need.
Good point.
And so if you're recognizing a need that's out there, that's the time to start thinking about it.
Right. That's awesome. Now I'm already excited to see who it is. I'm going to be curious for this.
Yeah, you'll have to wait for the press release in a couple weeks. So
it's fine. We'll wait, but that's a great case, and especially like an alum, so we're like even more proud.
Exactly.
Right? That's awesome. And like you said, when you see a need, I feel like a lot of people maybe take for granted. They might think like, oh, this sounds like a good idea, but then they put more thought into it. They might be like, oh, maybe like it's silly. Is there something you would like advise people to be like, maybe these are the check marks you would do and be like, yeah, this is going to turn out into a business, or no, this is just a random thing that crossed your mind that.
So what I would say is do some research, like ask people. So if you're looking at, having a restaurant, and go downtown, wherever you're hoping to put the restaurant, and stop and ask people, would you go to this type of restaurant? Strangers that you don't know. I mean, your friends are going to tell you, yes, it's really good, I'm going to go there. You need to go and do your own research and randomly ask and find out from other people, is this really something, would you buy this? Would you go here? Would you do this? Mm-hmm. Do you see this as a need? And so a lot of it is take the time to do that work yourself to find out. We can do research. We have a lot of data from different websites and stuff like that can give you national data, maybe state, even down to some local data. But some of the best data is things that you find out yourself by actually going and doing surveys and questionnaires yourself and finding out if it's something that people would really want.
Yeah, recognizing who your customer might be, and then seeking that type of person out to ask them, is this something that you would, spend your money on? I'll start doing that now with all my 1,000 ideas that I randomly have. And like, is this actually could be a business or? No, that's awesome. So from your personal positions right now, what is your favorite and your least favorite part? Or what do you think is the most challenging part? I'll put it that way.
The most challenging part is definitely the ones that think they have it all figured out and they already know it, and their banker told me I had to work with you. And so they don't really want to listen to what we have to say. Mm-hmm. And so it's, why are you here if you don't want to hear that piece? It's at no cost. We're going to tell you the truth. You're not going to get it sugar-coated. We're not going to, tell you what we think you want to hear. You're going to hear the truth. It might not be what you want to hear, but it's going to be the truth from what we see from that standpoint. So I think that, in my opinion, is the hardest part. Can I be honest?
Yeah.
Grants are
yes.
The most
they're my bane. So the bane of my existence. No. So I struggle with the idea of grants, because a lot of people call and they say, okay, I want a grant. There's grants out there, right? And honestly, there aren't. They're selective. They're really competitive, and a lot of times they're taking advantage of people. There's something where they're selling your information, those types of things. So you just have to be very, very cautious when you're looking for grants and applying for grants of what, because anytime something's free, anytime someone's giving you something, you're probably the product. So just to keep that in mind. I was just talking to someone who applied for a grant a couple weeks ago, and they said now they've gotten a lot of junk mail and a lot of spam calls.
Yeah.
And, it was frustrating for them. So just to be careful with that. And that's my most difficult one, because they're just not as prevalent as I think some people think they should be or would like them to be.
Right.
So
before we go to your guys' favorite part of the job, do you have any tips then on grants of things that people maybe should look at then when they're going to like submit for a grant? And then you're like, well, maybe these are a few red flags, or make sure of course, read very well what you're getting into, or any tips of.
So most of the time I would say if it's not a government entity or a nonprofit, then to be cautious of what, where that grant is coming from and what their motivation is for giving out that grant. Yeah. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, there's many times where do they give out the grant? Actually, can you get who's received the grant in the past? It takes, grants are a lot of work. We have to personally apply for a lot of grants for our funding to provide the services. There's a lot of work to put grants together. There's a lot of reporting that has to be done for a grant. Nobody's just giving money away, whether it be, like I said, even for us to get grants to provide the services we do. But for-profit businesses and stuff, it just isn't really there. And if you are lucky enough to find one, there's a lot of work tied to it. It's not just, here's the money, thank you very much. So.
Yeah. If it was that easy, I'm sure a lot of people would be getting grants, right?
That's kind of the piece. If it was that easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Yes. So what is your favorite part of the job?
I'll let you start.
So my favorite part is helping people. I mean, we get to help people realize their dreams. How great is that? Especially when, they're through the process, going to the ribbon cutting ceremony, or, we get their impact document, which is, saying that we helped them. It's exciting.
So, yeah, the success stories that we get to do and share. The other piece is, I do not think tomorrow it'll be 8 years that I've been with the SBDC. Not one day has ever been the same as what I've done the day before or any other day. So that's kind of the nice thing. There's a few things that you have to do that are routine, which I like. But then again, every day is different. So that's a big piece. And I've started my own business, and I don't think if I hadn't taken this position, I would have never even thought to do it from that standpoint. So
can you share what your business is?
Well, yeah, I have a rental home. So
that's awesome.
I'm a landlord that, without this, I wouldn't have thought of, let's set it up as a business, do that, rent it out from that piece. So that's kind of what I did for mine. So
that's awesome. And I'm sure you had a lot of connections or a lot of experience.
Exactly.
Parts, yeah.
Yep. So I knew what to do, and at least where to, how to find the resources and get it done. So
that's awesome. Okay, final thing for you guys. I won't be picking on you for too much longer. How can people find you and contact you if they're looking for the SBDC resources?
So we are located just down from the Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Our office is in ST 211A, And so that's physically where you can find us. Most of the time we do cover 18 counties, so there are times that we are out traveling. Our website is sbdcassistance.com, so you can find us there. There is a red button that says sign up for services in the top. I always have to do that when I top right-hand corner. So if you click on that, and then you can complete that, and that'll come into our system to sign up for services. We also have an email, sbdc@smsu.edu. Phone number, 507-537-7386. Am I forgetting anything?
That should do it.
And then it's for all students and community members and anyone looking for any type of assistance
Exactly.
for their small businesses.
At no cost.
I'm sure Dr.
Even
Taylor would point you in the right direction too, if you needed to find us.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys taking the time off your day to come here and tell us a little bit more about SBDC and everything you guys do. I'm sure you're helping so many businesses and many more to come. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you very
Yeah.
much.